Welcome back, everyone. I'm super excited to bring you part 2 of my account review. Today, we're diving into my Akasha profile and checking out some of my absolute best builds and artifacts. So get ready for some insane builds. Let's jump right in. So here are my rankings. As you can see, I have 23 characters in the top 1% worldwide. Honestly, I never thought a F2P player could achieve this many top ones, but here we are, breaking limits and proving it's possible. Let's dive into some of my favorite builds, starting with my rank 1, Xiangling on the Asia server. As you'd expect, her artifacts are absolutely insane. The roll values are through the roof, and the crit value on these pieces is just crazy. As you can see, if we check the leaderboards, she's ranked 2nd overall in this category. But when it comes to the Asia server, she's sitting at number 1. Now let's move on to my second build, Xingqiu. His artifacts aren't as crazy as Xiangling's, but they're still really solid. Right now he's using Haran, but even with Sacrificial Sword, he still ranks in the top 1%. Next up is Ganyu. Her artifact CV might seem low, but they have tons of crit damage and attack rolls, which is perfect for her. Since Ganyu gets 20% crit rate from her passive, plus 15% from Cryo Resonance, and I'm using the Blizzard Strayer set, she easily exceeds 100% crit rate. That's why stacking higher crit damage works best for her. Next up is one of my favorite builds, Neuvillette. He has some of the best possible artifact pieces with perfect stats and rolls tailored just for him. In fact, there's only one wasted stat on him, a single flat ATK plus 18 roll, which is honestly insane. The only reason he's not in the top 10 is because some of his artifacts started with only 3 substats, meaning 1 less roll into substats compared to the best possible pieces. Now let's check out my Raiden Shogun. This is her taser build, and all of her artifacts have well-balanced stats. Since crit rate, crit damage, and elemental mastery are essential for a taser build, these pieces fit her perfectly. The only downside is that her circlet is weaker compared to her other artifacts. But overall, she still performs incredibly well. Now it's time for my second favorite character, Yelan. Her artifacts are really solid, with high crit value and excellent roll distributions. She does have 3 wasted stats, 21 flat defense, 4.7% attack, and 5.1% defense percent. But even with those, she's still built like an absolute tank. I've farmed the emblem domain more than any other, so my emblem pieces are especially strong. Let's move on to the Radish Archon, Nahida. Her build is pretty unique since she's built as a sub-DPS with a 4-piece golden troop set. The crit value on her pieces is really high, and I'm using an elemental mastery goblet and circlet to maximize her damage. I also pair her with Yai Miko, who has 1000 EM and runs Deepwood Memories, making them a powerful core for Dendro teams. Next on our list is the Hydro Archon, Furina de Fontaine. She's running her signature artifact set with Energy Recharge Sands, giving her 260 plus ER. Thanks to the pipe, she can fit into any team comp and always have her burst ready. Plus, her crit stats are well balanced, allowing her to deal high off-field damage as well. Up next is Ayaka, my first DPS character. She has the best artifact piece on my entire account. Are you ready? It's a 52 CV Cryo Goblet. Her other pieces are also cracked, but by now, you've probably noticed that my circlets are my weakest pieces by far. With a better circlet, she could easily climb into the high top 1% rankings. Now introducing the shiny new character, Mavuika. She even got her own event. Haha, just kidding. I started farming Obsidian Codex pieces when I got her back in 5.3, so my Codex set definitely has room for improvement. But even as she is now, she's so strong that she's actually outperforming some of my C1 characters. Xing is up next. As you can see, if you have really good artifacts, you can still reach top 1%, even with mixed 2-piece sets. That being said, her goblet isn't the best, and to this day, I still haven't found a good Electro or Anemo goblet. Now, here comes Father. This is her vape build, and she's got 3 really good pieces and 2 decent ones. As usual, my circlet is terrible, and my sands is just okay-ish. I'm actually thinking about crafting a new circlet for her, because the current one only has 1 roll in both crit damage and EM, while the rest of the stats are completely useless. Now here are some random builds I want to show you. Some are meme builds, and some are just straight up flexes. So let's get into it. First up is Neuvillette, built with my highest CV pieces. He has an insane 73 crit rate and 331 crit damage. His artifacts include Ocean-Hued Flower with 43 CV, Heart of Depth Feather with 49 CV, Noblesse ER Sands with 48 CV, Ayaka's 52 CV Cryo Goblet, Husk 35 CV Crit Damage Circlet altogether. His total crit value adds up to a ridiculous 290. Next up is my 300 crit damage Yelan. This isn't her optimal build, but let's be real. 300 crit damage just looks insane. And even with this setup, she still hits 100,000 damage with her skill plus vape, without any buffs. Next up is the best girl, Lumine. She's built as a burst DPS, and her stats and artifacts are absolutely cracked. Her total CV is super high, and side note, this sword looks so good on her. And that wraps up this showcase. I hope you enjoyed checking out my builds and insane artifacts. But we're not done yet. In the next video, I'll show you how I reached floor 23 in every chamber of the Realm of Tempered Valor event as a completely free-to-play player. Until then, take care and have an amazing day.